Well, James Bays is on the road to Ajdabiya, joins me on the phone now. James, we're hearing reports that rebel fighters are in control of at least part of the town. I guess the question is how long that will last. What can you tell us?
Well, I'm about 20 kilometres away from Ajdabiya, and I can tell you the rebel fighters I'm with are making bolder claims than that. They are saying that they have dislodged Gaddafi's forces that were on the ring road around Ajdabiya, and they are now marching towards Brega. We are not ourselves in Ajdabiya yet. We're on our way. As ever, we are not armed troops like the fighters here. We don't carry weapons, and we're not in armoured vehicles. So we take a cautious approach, getting information in each village as we go up. But certainly the information we're being told by fighters, pretty bold claims. They say that the situation in Ajdabiya is still somewhat fluid because they say there are still Gaddafi fighters in the city, possibly snipers, but they say they have cleared the road. We're going to have to confirm that for ourselves with our own eyes. The other thing they're telling us is that as they've cleared new areas, they have found the bodies of civilians. We're being told dozens of civilian bodies. One man was telling me a short time ago, one fighter, how at dawn this morning he buried the body of a young man and also the body of a baby whose body was badly burnt, we're told. That was buried this morning just after dawn. That was told to us by one of the fighters, in fact a uniformed member of the fighting force. Some of these opposition fighters are ex-military people who defected wearing uniform. The vast majority, though, are young men, what they call here the shabab, the youngsters who are involved in the fighting, very limited training, very lightly armed.
Well, that'll be interesting if you can confirm that they're managing to push further out of Ajdabiya, because we know that the airstrikes which took place overnight largely designed to try and halt the stalemate which seems to be developing in Libya, James.
Yes, well, this would be a pretty major development because it was 1 week ago that Gaddafi's forces were attacking Benghazi, on the edge of Benghazi. And as you remember, they were repelled from Benghazi, and then those airstrikes took place on the road out of Benghazi. Ever since that, for the last 6 days, as you say, we have had this stalemate with Gaddafi's forces around Ajdabiya, not moving, occasionally taking civilian vehicles into the city, but most of the time staying on the ring road. They were there was talks about possible surrender, but the opposition didn't accept their conditions for surrender, which were that they asked to be able to leave, but with their tanks. And the opposition fighters, although there'd been this talk of surrender, unable to remove those tanks from those positions because they were pretty well dug in. They had tanks and they had missiles. That situation appears to have changed. I have to say, there's a lot of people saying a lot of things here, and I'm not going to confirm it for certain until we see it with our own eyes. We're edging towards Ajdabiya. We're taking it carefully, as I say, because this is a volatile area. We should be able to bring you some definitive news, hopefully, in the next hour or so, Shirley.
Okay, the line's a little bit difficult to hear you, but let's just try for a bit more information, James. I wonder what the people you're travelling with or the people that you will be talking to shortly will make of the fact that a Libyan delegation to the African Union has said that Gaddafi is prepared to make political reforms, may even be prepared to offer elections. Will that carry any weight at this stage?
Certainly, I don't think will carry any weight with the fighters here. They say the only thing they'll accept is Gaddafi leaving the country. I spoke to representatives in the last few hours when I was back in Benghazi of the Transitional Council. Again, they say there are no concessions other than Gaddafi leaving the country. They cannot tolerate a situation where he remains in any way involved in the political situation. Where I think it will change the equation, if that's on offer, is in terms of the global picture, in terms of international support for this air campaign that's now been waged for some 7 days.
Can we just return to the question of civilian casualties? You were saying that you were getting reports from rebel fighters that civilian bodies had been found in and around Ajdabiya. Of course, in Tripoli, Gaddafi's officials are claiming that there are also civilian casualties because of the airstrikes. What effect does that have on the morale and on the mood of rebel fighters?
Well, I think it will be very important for us to try and ascertain how these civilian casualties came about. That is going to be difficult, because what I'm hearing from these rebel fighters, and if what they're telling me is correct, is that these bodies were buried at dawn this morning, about 4 hours ago. So it is going to be difficult to work out how they died if the bodies have already been buried and already in the ground. But the question will be, if these civilians died near those pro-Gaddafi forces in their tanks, did they die as a result of gunfire? Did they die as a result of bullets from the Gaddafi fighters? Or did they possibly die at the hands of the opposition? Or even more controversially, did they die in any airstrikes? And we know there were airstrikes near the Gaddafi positions, airstrikes that were ordered in and conducted by those international powers involved in this operation. We know there are Arab nations involved, but most of the airstrikes so far have been done by Western nations, the majority by the United States and the French.
Yeah, a very difficult and emotive issue. James, for the moment, thanks very much indeed for that. That's James Bays, our correspondent, who is on the road heading towards Ajdabiya there.